So this is the book of Jeremiah 10 and verse 16. It reads, "The portion of Jacob is not like them, for he is the form of all things, and Israel is the Lord of his inheritance. The Lord of hosts is his name. All praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahushai, Bahashem, Lakaha Kadash, Edabahana to the elder, and the apostles of Christimiston who do well, a peace, blessing, and salutation to you who am pushing this rules to the four winds of the heavenly, being on the forefront of this spiritual war, to make sure Jerusalem is established as a praise here again, as in the days of old. So, this is your brother Yashaya from GMWC, the Church of Tanzania, coming to you which is his lessons, man. And then today's lesson, we are going to tap into a little bit of history and the reincarnation, man. Going to talk about our forefathers, man, and our history in general. So as to break a stronghold, man, because out of there, Esau have taught you to loathe yourself, you see, and in doing so, he taught you a version of history which is not correct. So starting with our apostles, man, coming like manna, we wanna set the record straight, and I started with Jeremiah, the 10th chapter, and verse 16. Jacob being the form of all things. Basically, everything you see on earth which have salt in it, man, and which people talk about it, you see, guess what? The founder or the inventor of that very same thing is an Israelite, man. That's what it means by saying form of all things. See, starting from your favorite food, man, your favorite liquor, man, going to vodka and everything, man. See, your favorite TV show, your favorite movies, man. It was inspired from our forefathers, man. When you go into this different comic book, man, and everything. You see, when you go to greatest military strategies in history, man. You see, both is the dark ages, man. Prehistory is the dark ages, and the modern history, man. In which, when you go to prehistory, you have peoples like Hannibal. You see, when you go to before, after Christ, man, you see, during the siege of Jerusalem, you have a great military strategy. They are not teaching you. You see, even though we got defeated during the siege of Jerusalem, but amen. You see, our fame spread out all over the Roman Empire, man. That's why when the Roman defeated us, man, they even made a coin as written, "Jude have been conquered." And Titus, who was in charge, he was a commander in charge to make sure, man, our forefathers were defeated. He went on to Rome, man, in great glory. He didn't even walk. You see, he was carried around like a sultan, man. See, because we posed the resistance, man. And in today's lesson, I'm going to show you, man, even in the Roman Empire, man, ruling the whole entire earth, that was a Messiah, man. Because our forefather Hannibal, he almost defeated the Roman Empire, man, in mechanized tactical military maneuvers, man, known as a double deployment. And you will see that very same military maneuver employed throughout history, man, by our forefathers. See, the same thing with Shaka the Zulu. Back in the day, I used to think that Shaka the Zulu was a heathen, man. Actually, Shaka the Zulu might have been an Israelite. That's just my opinion. And I dare to say Shaka the Zulu is a reincarnation of Hannibal himself, man. The Hannibal of South Africa. His fame went throughout the British Empire. And the Shaka the Zulu, he forewarned, you see, he prophesied about the emerging of the Second Roman Empire. You see, he foretold that, man. You see, 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 eh? The same thing, the same spirit which was on Hannibal is the same spirit which was on Shaka the Zulu, man. That's why I dare to say, man, he could have been Hannibal. That's why they demonize him, man. Man, I read about Shaka the Zulu back in the day, man, in the library, in our school, secondary school. I read the whole book about Shaka the Zulu. You see, he is heavily demonized, man, throughout history, man. You see. Why? Because Esau hate everything austere. The same way Hannibal is demonized. The same way our forefathers are demonized. King David, man. And all over the men of the Lord, the Maccabean, man. See? All of those were our forefathers, man. See? See? It is in yours, man. We take that from Yahweh Hashem Yahushai himself, man. You see, being the man of war. Let me get that in Exodus, man. Exodus 15:6 says, the Lord Yahweh Hashem Yahushai is a man of war. The Lord is his name. Pharaoh chariot and his host has he cast into the sea. His chosen captain are drawn in the Red Sea. The depths have covered them. They sunk into the bottom as a stone. Thy right hand, O Yahweh, it became glorious in power. Thy right hand, O Lord, have dashed in pieces the enemy. And in the greatness of thy excellence, thou hast overthrown them that rose up against thee. Thou sentest with horse thy last which consumed them as a stubble. And with the blast of thy nostril, the waters were gathered together. That was going to the chariot, man. You see? The chariot morphed the water together in one place, man, so that the Israelites can cross over. That is known as aerodynamic. As when you study physics, that's known as aerodynamic. See? It says the flood stood upright as an heap, and the depths were congealed in the heart of the sea. The enemy said, I will pursue, I will overtake, I will divide the spoil. My wrath shall be satisfied upon them. I will draw my sword, my hand shall destroy them. Thou did blow with thy wind, going to the chariot, the sea covered them, they sank as lead in the mighty water. So this is the poetic nature of the scriptures, man. See, trying to talk down to your enemy. That's how you know, Moses was King David, man. If you read the Psalms, man, King David was rapping about your enemy, man. I'm not talking about the modern day rap. I'm talking about actual music, organic music back then, man. You talk down to your enemy. Go and read Psalms 18, man. King David was rapping down his enemy, man. He persuaded them, he beat them as a dust, man, and nobody could deliver. You see, the same way a Marsha was going to, man. You see, who is like unto the Lord? You see, among the gods, who is like thee, glorious in holiness, fearful in praise, doing wonders. I see. That's one thing. Let me get another thing. Let's see. Let me get. So this is the book of Jeremiah. I see. 51:19. It says, a portion of Jacob is wrought like them, another repetition, for he is a form of all things, and Israel is the Lord of his inheritance, the Lord of hosts is his name. Thou art my battle axe and a weapon of war. I see. And that is more with Levite, man. I see. That's why, amen, through the spirit of Yahweh Hashem Yahushai, I came into a conclusion that a lot of Nguni speaking people are Levite, man. See, and I will see that in the scripture, but let's go into as a comparison between Hannibal and Shaka the Zulu, man, and our forefathers, man, being greatest military strategists, man. See, they brought forth legends, in which that word legends, it goes back into written records, in which you are not being taught in school. Let me start. See, back here. It goes into tactical maneuvers. See, in which tactical maneuvers came from what we call a maneuver warfare, and the tactical maneuver that is a fourth generation warfare, man. That's another another lesson for another time. Let's say early examples of maneuvers. This was going to see if you wanna mechanize your warfare, man, and inflict heavy losses on your enemy on your short period of time. As it goes by the way of bypassing your enemy through intelligence, logistic, and the ability to react quickly. She saw the earliest tactical maneuver, say warfare maneuvers. It goes into one of the most famous early maneuver tactics was a double envelopment. Mark that word, double envelopment, which it will bring me to a point why Shaka the Zulu might have been Hannibal, man. It was used by Hannibal against the Roman at the Battle of Cannae in 216 BC, and by Khalid ibn al-Walid against the Persian Empire, the Battle of Waraja. See, so we will see this we'll deal with Hannibal only. See, let's go to the Battle of Cannae. She'd say Hannibal, say between 183 and 181 BC was a Carthaginian general and a statesman who commanded the force of Carthage in their battle against the Roman, which he was a jerk. This is not cannibal, bro. As he was a jerk against the Roman Republic. I dare to say he was a Levite. See, I'm not trying to push a tribal thing here, but we will see in the scriptures, man. What I'm talking is scripture. You see, I said during the Second Punic War, and if you go throughout history, let me, if you are wondering why I am bringing out the Levite a lot in this lesson, man. If you go to this different military resistance, man, starting which is a Maccabean, see, in which you see going all the way to the siege of Jerusalem, who was at the forefront, man. See, to break through the enemy stronghold, man. He was a Levite, and there is a reason for that. When you come into modern history, you have the most successful revolt, man, were led by Levite. You have the Haitian Revolution, you have the Mau Mau movement, you have the, over here in Africa, the Mau Mau movement, that was the most famous. You have the Maji War, you see, in which it was waged by Levite also. You have the Mkwawa War was a Levite. There's no shadow of a doubt about that. In which Mkwawa, you see, in which Mkwawa, he led a revolt against the Germany. This is Germany, and there's a commander known as von Zelewski, in which as one among the soldiers of Mkwawa, he struck a spear on his head, man. He went there to persuade them to surrender. Before he finished talking, he had a spear on his head. That's the same spirit in which the Nguni had, in which Shaka the Zulu also was a Nguni speaking people. There is no negotiation. Even if you go back to the Maccabean War, you see, how did the Maccabean react when that dude he came to persuade them to follow the Grecian, man? He got put to death on the spot, man. You see, I don't remember the name of the person who put that dude to death, but he was a Levite, man, if I'm not mistaken. So it is in the scriptures, man. You see, that is Levite lot. You see, I see. So let's go during the Second Punic War. So this was the Second Punic War. You have the First Punic War and the Second Punic War. He's widely regarded as one of the greatest military commander in history. You see? So let's go. It say Hannibal father. He was a leading Carthaginian general during the First Punic War. His younger brother was Mago. You see? Let us go. Let me see. Second Punic War. Let us go. What I want is a double deployment. Okay. Let me see. Let me see. There is something as a bet of Kane. That's what I wanted. Let me go back here. Let's go here. It is known as double deployment or pincer movement, in which Hannibal came with, man. It says pincer movement or double deployment is a military maneuver in which forces simultaneously attack both flanks. Marks that double deployment or pincer movement. I'll show you will see. It says the pincer movement typically occurs when opposing force advance toward the center of an army that respond by moving its outside force to the enemy flank to surround it. At the same time, a second layer of pincer may attack the more distant flank to keep reinforcement from the target unit. So you do like what you call a double deployment. You attack your enemy's flank, and then you leave a way for the enemy to retreat. This is the same way Sun Tzu said. You see, the same way Sun Tzu said. You see, as the Mongol had this had used this, because the Mongol use of maneuver warfare. You see, the Mongol Empire against Han used a military system of maneuver warfare that focused on rapid, decisive maneuver, utilizing the skill and endurance of his Mongol regiment. You see, example, there was a name on which it was called. Let me see. It was known as a double horn. The Mongolian called it a double horn, and that's very important. So let's go back to Hannibal. Let's see how Hannibal dealt with the Roman, man. History. It says Sun Tzu in the Art of War tradition dated to the 6th century BC, suspected on the maneuver, but he advised against trying it to fear that an enemy was running first before the move could be completed. He argued that it was best to allow the enemy a path to escape, and that is Sun Tzu. He modified the double deployment maneuver. Let me see. This is the most famous example of his use was the bet of Kane in 2016 BC, when Hannibal executed a maneuver against the Roman military historian Thite, the first successfully known as the Pinker movement that was in detail. You see, let's go back here. Let's go to the bet of Kane. You see, it says the bet of Kane was a key engagement of the Second Punic War between the Roman Republic and Carthage, fought on 2nd August 2016 BC near the ancient village of Cannae in Apura, southeast Italy. The Carthaginian and the ally led by Hannibal surrounded and practically annihilated a larger Roman army. You see, they annihilated it, man. Let's go back. Let's go down here. Having recovered from their losses, Trebea You see, the Roman decided to engage Hannibal at Cannae with approximately 60,000 Roman and the allied troops. They massed their infantry in a deeper formation than usual, while Hannibal used a double deployment tactic and surrounded his enemy, trapping the majority of the Roman army who were then slaughtered. Their loss of life on Roman side meant it was one of the most lethal single day of fighting in history. You see, it says the news of this defeat reached Rome. The city was gripped in panic. Authorities resorted to extraordinary measures, which included consulting Sibylline books, dispatching a delegation. They even worshipped bulls. Although the most of the following decades, the battle was seen thoroughly as a major Roman disaster, by modern time, Cannae acquired a mystic quality, and it's often used as an example of the perfect defeat of an enemy army. So there's a double deployment at tactical maneuver, not tactical military maneuver, which was invented by Hannibal. Really, it inflicted heavy loss on the Roman Empire to the point that they started sacrificing people, worshipping their gods, repenting, man. But it was not on the most higher will that Hannibal defeated the Roman Empire, but he was capable of that, man. You see, he was capable of defeating the Roman Empire. No, not only he was capable, he defeated them, man. You see, that was the first Roman Empire. So let's go to Shaka the Zulu. Let's go. Double horny military. The same thing with the double deployment formation, known as the impi. We see here the impi. See, this was Shaka, man. And Shaka, man, legend have it that he prophesied, man, about the Renaissance period, man. You see, the Renaissance period happened on the 14th century, but on the 18th century, before the British invaded what is called Cape Town and the South Africa, and the colonization of the entirety of Africa, he forewarned, before he died, he forewarned his people, man, and he waged the war against the invader. See, that's where he obtained his fame, really, man. He says Shaka the Zulu is said to be one of the greatest military leaders in African history and perhaps all history. There is controversy around the brutality of his method. You see that, man. This is a Shaka right here, man. You see, that is a Shaka right there. So it says, go. He introduced a new weapon to the Zulu. And this new weapon, it was known as the short hand spear. Back then, even during the time of Hannibal, they used what we call a javelin, man. See, but Shaka, he introduced a short hand spear. So he had what you call the double bull military formation, which is the double horn. During the time of Hannibal, it was known as the double deployment, but Shaka the Zulu, he added the salt into it, man. That's why, man, these two people, they are very similar. You see, and as the Messiah, he raised the Shaka as to spearhead the curses, man, of Israel, who were living in the southern part of Africa, because they were very at ease. You see, they were very prosperous. The history of what we call the Bantu migration. We came from the western part of Africa, and we fled from the persecution of the jihadists or the Muhammadan. So we ran into the interiors of Africa. We established the city on southern part of Africa, man. See, and the same cities were prosperous, man. So we were a little bit successful, man. No any trouble, man. No nothing, man. So the Lord have to raise the Shaka, man. See, to put hell on you peoples, man. To put hell on you Nguni people, man, which you are Israelite, man. I say Shaka Zulu introduced equal a weapon of a short spear and a long spearhead thought of like a sword. He said we call them in history short-hand spear. You see, he says Shaka Zulu supposedly introduced cow hide shield which were much stronger than the iron and wood shield previous. He accustomed his people to war condition. She collected troops of war on his strict military decree and his respect. She say he introduced and perhaps invented the bullhorn formation, which is a bullhorn formation is the same thing we see the double deployment. They ain't telling you. And remember, Shaka the Zulu, the most fascinating thing is Shaka the Zulu was illiterate, man. You see, he was a son of a concubine, like Jephthah. He was the Jephthah of South Africa. You see, he was the same way Jephthah was, the same way Shaka the Zulu was, man. He came to the rescue of his clanmen, man. After they have neglected him for a long period since he was a child, you see, they neglected him. They slandered him, man, him and his mother. Some historian says that Shaka the Zulu he came to get revenge, which is not that's not the truth. See, Shaka the Zulu was just an austere man. He was extreme. See, like how King Solomon was. Yes, man. King Solomon was extreme, man. He was very, very austere. He says the many historians say Shaka the Zulu was the first military leader to use the bullhorn formation. This is a three-part attack system in which seasoned warrior from the chest of the horn at the front, pinning the enemy in the position where it can be easily attacked. Younger warrior would form a horn and a cycle. The enemy attacking from the side. So that was a double deployment, but he had added salt to it. You see, he had the seasoned soldier on the chest of that bull-like horn formation, like attackers, man. So you break the enemy flanks and you keep on pressing them, man. And not only that, he was more ruthless, man, than Hannibal. You see, he had another group of soldiers to cut off military reinforcement completely. You see, in addition, warrior from the loin standing behind the chest. So you have other soldiers standing behind the chest, and then you have a picture here. You see of these white people, man. You see, white people being slaughtered. You see, and you know Esau was blessed with the sword. He came with guns. That's why the Zulu lost. The younger warrior would form a horn and encircle the enemy, attacking from side. In addition, warrior forms the loin. You see, standing behind the chest with their back to the battle, protecting against any additional invader. You see. He made the soldier remain celebrate. Yeah. He was fiercely dedicated to his mother because his mother and him they were slandered since he was a child, man. He was like a Jephthah, man. He sometimes said nice and encouraging things, man. You see, the great nation of Zulu have shown courage against your superior enemy. You see, the nations that spoke of you with contempt are chilled by your thongs. Kings and princes shiver in their... Oh boy. This sound like an Israelite here, man. We read the book of Exodus about how Moses was singing against the Pharaoh army. You see? And then if you go to the book of Psalm, you read about King David, man. You see? That's why, man, I believe, man, Shaka the Zulu was an Israelite, man. You can't get around that, man. You see? People say that he was not an Israelite because he was very brutal against the other you say, the Nguni-speaking people as the Israelite, but Shaka was not. See? Come on, man. See? He said to the chief musician, son of David, the servant of the Lord, who spake unto the Lord the word of this song, the day that the Lord delivered him from the hand for his enemy. So it was our custom, man. You see? It was our custom, man, to sing songs of praise, man, about how we run through our enemy, man. And when we run through Esau, man, You see, by Yahushua being our chief strategist, man. Right now, Yahushua, you see, he will be our chief strategist, man. He will run through Esau, man. And in the kingdom of heaven, not in the kingdom of heaven, when we are at the firmament, will be things the song of Moses, man. The song of glory. That's our custom, man, throughout history, man. And from the hand of Saul, and he said, I will love thee, O Lord, my strength. You see? You see? Let me see. Let me see. Let's see. Verse 29, for by thee I have run through a troop, and by my power have I leaped over all. You see? Let me see. Let me see. With 37, I have persuaded my enemy and overtaken them, neither did I turn against till they were consumed. You see, I have wounded them that they were not able to rise, they are fallen under my feet. See, King David was lapping against his enemy, man. Like Shaka the Zulu. Shaka spoke this word to his army in 1818 after the victory. Great nation of Zulu have shown courage against your superior enemy. The nation that spoke of you with contempt are chilled by your song. King and prince shiver in their little throne. In their little throne, you see, enemy free to hide in the mountain caves. It could be nice sometimes, you see. He revolutionized South African war style, man. See, he say before Shaka Zulu, South African battle are said to have consisted of ritualized exchange of talent with minimal loss of life. Shaka Zulu introduced methods that turned the war into warfare. See, he inspired a widely popular song. Shaka Zulu is the inspiration of a song used in South Africa when he reverted the authoritarian figure and celebrated the opening line here. He is Shaka the unshakable, thunderer while sitting, son of Menzi. He is a bird that prey on your beds. He listened to criticism. See, why is he created a mega military empire, man, like Hannibal. See, he brought the Zulu tribe out of obscurity. See, come on, man. See, come on, man. So my point here was Shaka the Zulu was illiterate, but he even modified what you call the double deployment from Hannibal, and it became more salty, man. It became more salty, and he loved the war. That was the thing with Hannibal, man. Hannibal loved the war. He was about war. He was about military strategies, man. He was a genius military strategist. The same way with Shaka the Zulu, man. Shaka the Zulu did not be a great historical figure, man. There is no such a thing as a coincidence, man. There is no such a thing known as coincidence, man, in history. So over here we are reading about our forefather, and there is a lot of history about our forefather, man. Going to the Maccabean, when you go to the siege of Jerusalem, man, our forefather did wonder, man. But it was prophesied that our enemy will prevail against us. And Esau himself did not win against our forefathers during the time of 70 AD. If you don't know, it was Israel against Israel. There was that wicked Israel from Alexandria, Egypt. He helped the Titus to win against the Jews. And a nigger almost put to death Titus, man. Through they were throwing darts, man. I see. And there is another lesson, man, about what you call a ninja assassin. Really, the ninja assassin, that was a traditional which was introduced by the Scary, man. Later on, it was adopted throughout the Middle East after the fall of Jerusalem, man. You see, the Scary, they spread. Not all the Scary died. They started different sects, man. Some of them were killed to the Far East, that's Japan. That's why you have ninja assassin up to that. And I was watching a movie known as Ninja Assassin. They give you a history of ninja assassin. It started from the Middle East. That goes to the sky, man. Those are our forefathers, man. That's why I started with Jacob is a form of all thing, and then you have that nigga Yasuke. See, and there is a saying which goes by in order for you to be a great samurai, man, you need to have black blood in you. Let me get that. Let me see. See. He said, for a samurai to be brave, he must have a bit of black blood. Or do you think that came from, man? That is our forefather, man. It is context, man. See, so let's go. Why are you singing the right song a lot, man? Somebody might say you are biased, brother. You are biased. Why are you not talking about the tribe of Washeli? Let's get to the scripture, man. See. Let's see. Let me see. So this is the book of Deuteronomy 33, verse 8. It says, and of Levi he said, let thy Thumni and the Urim be with thy whole one, which the Thumni and the Urim, that's like the version of internet back then, man. They used to communicate with the Moshiach, man, the Levite, whom thou did prove at Martha, and with whom thou did strive at the word of Meribah, who said unto his father and to his mother, I have not seen him, neither did he acknowledge his brethren, neither knew his own children, for they have observed thy word and kept thy covenant. They shall teach Jacob thy judgment, and Israel thy law. They shall put incense before thee, and whole burn your sacrifice upon thy altar. So this was going to the blessing of Levite. You see, there is something here. Verse 11. Pay attention to verse 11. Say, bless the Lord his substance, and accept the work of his hand. Smite through the loin of them that rise against him. So that was also a blessing of Levite, man. Revolutionary military resistance to smite the loin of his enemy. It was evident during the Maccabean. It was evident during the siege of Jerusalem. And you have high priest is employing very mechanized military maneuvers, man. I see. Go and really read about the siege. Don't read the siege of Jerusalem like you are reading a piece of paper, man. A piece of paper given from the farmers, man. You just read, I needed to buy this drug. No, man. Read the siege of Jerusalem as your history. You have high priest, you have Alizar, you have Simon, you have Johnny. Those was the chief leader in there. And how they employed the military strategy to entrap the Roman Empire, man. You see? On how they fought these different battling rams and everything. You see? The siege of Jerusalem was not just a screaming war, people screaming on the inside of Jerusalem and the outside of Jerusalem. It was military, mechanized military maneuvers, man. If we were interested, it says, smite through the loin of them that rise against them. When you go to the Haitian Revolution, man, you see, it was an orchestrated war and the military warfare. That's why these different generals, they started different military warfare. And the God, yes, is good. You have military warfare which are employed even in modern history, man. They came from God. See? You have the Mau Mau movement in Kenya. Those are Levite, yes. See, because they are the same tribal, the what called the Kikuyu people who waged the war against the British in the Mau Mau warfare. Those are the same people as the Lemba Levite, right? The same thing. They employed what you call guerrilla warfare, man. And the guerrilla warfare, you don't just come from the wood and attack, man. No. You need the military logistic, man, and everything, man. I see. So we taunted Esau throughout history, man. I see. And you say, Levite will smite through the loin of them that rise against him, man. That's why all the successful what's called revolutionary warfare, there is Levite in there. That's why I saw somebody saying that the Akani people are from the tribe of Judah. I don't want to argue about that. This is not a tribal thing, but my opinion is the Akani people are from the tribe of Levite. You have the Meroe Empire, man. See, we went against the Roman Empire again. Those were the Akani people, man. See, the priest. See, that's the blessing of Levite, man. See, it says, smite through the loin of them that lies against him, and of them that hate him, that they lies not again. See, so you have Levite, you have Gad, you have Benjamin, yes, so the ravening wolf. You see, so all the tribe, man. You have Ashley. See, every tribe played it his part. You have Issachar, man, is a good warrior too. You see, so this I say shalom. I hope you brothers were edified. On to the next thing.